And it's like, God, I don't need another signal. I got your lesson. Start speaking and teaching again. You don't have to give it to me a third time. Because how hard, you don't get the lessons that are coming your way. They don't go away. They come back more intense and more intense.
Well, welcome into the True Man Podcast. You know, I'd like you to dream with me a little bit. Have you ever heard someone that was speaking say, close your eyes and think about what success in life looks like for you? When that happens, did you draw a blank? Did it look fuzzy? Did you wonder, yeah, I don't have a clue what that looks like? Me too. How about we offer you a little help today on the True Man Podcast? Welcome, Robert Raymond Riopel. See, I told you I'd butcher it, Robert.
You got it. Dude.
I didn't let you down, man. Robert is an internationally best-selling author, app designer, entrepreneur, and trainer who spent the last 18 years traveling around the world, sharing his passion. With his high energy and heartfelt style, Robert draws on his journey from humble beginnings, which he's going to tell us about, to freedom at the age of 32 to inspire individuals into tapping into their greatness. Robert, how are you today?
Mike, no. We're having fun. So I am doing great because we've already started. Even before you hit that record button, you and I are laughing our butts off. We know it's going to be a great time. So I'm feeling blessed to be here.
Well, you know, I try to make it as easy as I can. I don't want anybody to bleed to death on the show. That's my goal. Anyway, Robert, you know, success usually comes with hard life lessons. I don't think I'm alone in that. So that's the case for a lot of people. So tell us about your story and really what caused you to turn around and get to you know, your comeback story here today.
Well, you know, and the funny thing is, and again, when we're off of recording and you're mentioning about you and your wife moving, I'm relating all the way along. And it's not that it's what has been my comeback story. It's a succession of them. Yeah. And so one of the first things I want your audience to realize is I don't care who the person is, how successful they look, how altogether they have it looking. You know that only comes from a lot of twists and turns and ups and downs. And it's how do they handle it or not that is the difference. You know, growing up, I'm being taught you work hard, you stay loyal. Even if you hate the job you're doing, if it's supporting your family, that's what you do. And find something that gives you security, you know, like that exists anymore, and the highest pay possible. And that's how you select on what you're going to do. And so, of course, as a kid, it's like, okay, I want to work for the post office. I want to work for the city. But back then, you had to know someone who knew someone to even think of getting that job, right?
It is so true. Yes. And now they're begging people to come to work there.
Right. And I want to be a city worker. Who do I know? And that was kind of the way I looked at things. And I started working at a young age. And here I am, and I'm working hard and staying loyal. All of a sudden, I'm a newlywed. I'm 21 years of age, and I'm being laid off from the third major job I'd worked for. And I'm like, what's going on here? And instantly, you know, looking back, the biggest lesson I think I got from that, Mike, is no matter how big the company is, I was just another number. And how easy it was to just say, that number's gone. You know, I was working for a factory. We were making cedar doors. I got hired on with the factory open. I'd worked my way from in the factory to shipping, receiving, then to inside sales. I pictured myself in 40 years of working for this company to the point where I'd be my own general manager. Now, what's cool about that, people who know me, they look at me and I'm like, yeah, I'd be miserable, but it'd be the most fun factory you've ever worked in. Because
nothing would get done, but you'd be having fun, right?
Exactly, right? And so imagine my shock. I walk into the office after having a week holiday, and the general manager, he calls me over, and I still remember his name, Ron Humpting. And he comes in.
I'm gonna leave that one alone, but yeah. I could really jump in on that.
Right, me too. And he goes, "We need to talk." He says, "Want to let you know we're shutting the factory down, and you were laid off as last Friday." And like, pardon me? Well, yeah, you're lower management, so you're laid off instantly. And I'm like, you couldn't tell me before I went on a holiday? He goes, oh, we didn't know. And my BS meter just went through the roof on that one. Mm-hmm. But Mike, that's not what upset me the most, I think about it. What upset me the most is he then proceeded to have me sit down and tell me everything I'd been doing wrong, that if I wanted to be successful, here's what the corrections I need to make. And let's just say I was not in the space to listen to him. And I left and I was upset. I was just like, now what am I going to do? It's 1989. We're in a recession. You can't find a real job. I put on the suit, the tie, the jacket, go looking for that because that's what you're supposed to do. And out of necessity, because I want to support my family, is I decide to deliver pizzas until I find that real job. And I end up working for Domino's Pizza. When I'm doing that, because of my work ethic, I started working a lot. And because it's all young kids, I was the old guy at 21 working and delivering pizzas.
Yeah. You were back then, by the way.
Right? Yeah. And so even, I knew the guys that scheduled for close, I wasn't. I knew they always wanted to go party. So I'd just sit there and say, hey, I'll take your closing shift if you want. Oh, really? And so I could close as many nights as I wanted. And I started making more money than my real job. And because of my work ethic, I became a manager. My wife became my assistant. We started working open to close 7 days a week. And we were doing that for about a year and a half when it started to happen again. All of a sudden, my franchisee shows up at the store one day and goes, I just want to let you know, I made a bad decision when I sold the one store and bought two. I'm getting out of Domino's Pizza, so the two stores are up for sale. And my wife and I had watched enough stores get sold around us. We knew that the new owners came in with their new management team, their own team, so we would be the first ones to let go. And I'm now panicked because to me, I'm like, what are we going to do? We're both about to lose our incomes. And so I'm like, okay, here's the answer. Because as men, we always have the answer, right, Mike? Yeah. We know what the answer is.
We fix and we have answers. Yes.
Yep. So I'm like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to call the other 7 franchisees in the city. We're going to find out who needs a management team. And my wife's let me ramble on for a little bit. And I finally slow down and she goes, stop. She goes, are you done? I'm like, what do you mean am I done? She goes, are you done with that silly stuff? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, here's what we're going to do. We're qualified to be franchisees. Why don't we just buy the store that we're in? And I looked at her and I'm like, because we don't have any money. Yeah, that's why we don't buy the store. Like, hello. My wife is the youngest of 5 and she was raised by a single mother. And her mother taught her, you figure out a way. And so we started making a lot of mistakes. But we started learning, how do you buy a business if you don't have any money? And we made mistakes, but every mistake we made, we learned from it.
Yep.
And so we would adjust on what to say, what not to say. And it took about 4 months when we finally had enough confidence to go to our own bank. And we ended up, they didn't finance our store. They ended up giving us 100% financing for both the stores my franchisee had for sale. And we became franchisees and it was like, oh, we've now got it made. We're 23 years of age. The average age of our franchisee then, which, by the way, Domino's loved to tell people that. When we were young, the average age of a Domino's Pizza franchisee is 23. The statistic they didn't like to share is the average new franchisee went bankrupt in their first 6 months.
Yeah.
And the reason was we knew how to run a store, but we didn't know how to run a business. And there's a world of difference. Like silly little things like making sure you have an accountant to do the bookwork so you don't get caught up and that. And for us, here was our golden rule of business. If there's money in the bank, we must be doing all right. Woo!
Yeah.
Not. And it took us about 2 years. And our accountants, when we finally hired one and they got us straightened around, they looked at it back at our bookwork and go, how in the heck did you guys survive 2 years? There's no way you should have made it. But we were too tenacious to quit. And now that we knew the numbers, now that we knew how to keep score, we started doing better and better. But then we did something, Mike. I know you've never heard this. I'm about to shock you and your listeners. I hope they're prepared. We started spending more money than we were earning.
Wow, no business owner has ever done that.
And by the time we're franchisees for 8 years, we're all of a sudden over $150,000 in personal debt and going down quickly and stressed out beyond belief. And I don't know if you've ever experienced financial stress, but to me, probably the worst stress I've ever gone through. And that's when we were introduced to personal development for the first time. We went through a 3-day training. Next thing we know, we understand why we're in debt. But more importantly, we learned to understand that to take responsibility for our debt. See, I was good at blaming others. Yeah. They lost my investment. It's because of them I decided to do this and I lost money. And when I started taking responsibility, and my wife and I did, all of a sudden things turned around really rapidly because we also then took action on correcting things. And next thing you know, we went from over $150,000 in debt to actually retired completely financially free 9 months later at the age of 32. And
I mean, you basically flipped it, right? That's how I see that. I mean, once you take ownership over what's going on, I mean, of course it comes with a price. Oh, well, it nearly came with a price. I mean, you were definitely, yeah.
And we probably wouldn't have made the change if we weren't so financially stressed. See, because I'm a procrastinator, and I willingly admit that because, I get comfortable very easy. And instead of fighting it now, I've learned to, and this is a practical skill I want to give all your listeners, because I used to beat myself up over being a procrastinator. And all that did was just beat me down. All that did was then make me procrastinate more. And then I'd feel terrible about myself, even more than I already did.
Yeah.
Even today, if people look at all the things I've achieved and they go, Robert, you have an amazing life, and nothing seems to take you out. And it's like, no, the one thing I still battle with is self-doubt. And because I'm aware of it, I work with it daily to keep going.
Well, now isn't that interesting? And not just interesting. That's the differentiator between successful people and people that aren't, right? Isn't it? I mean, when you have this awareness, what can take you out. But once you know what can take you out, what your kryptonite is, you can work with it. Some people just don't choose to look at their kryptonite.
Right. And it's because we've been taught you have to figure it out on your own, or, boys don't cry, or whatever it is. And so the biggest thing that when I started to recognize, I will always be a deep dive, introspective person. I'm always constantly working on me, and I ask for help. Because the moment so many people are, and this has been my experience, vulnerability, that's a weakness. You can't be vulnerable.
Oh boy, yeah.
But I look at it that vulnerability is one of the greatest strengths you can have. And so everything I do that is, say, business, I find a partner. I find the people, and I take this from Tom Monahan, who is the founder of Domino's Pizza. I love what he said. People said, how did you grow Domino's Pizza to be able to be at the level where you sold 93% of the company for $1.1 billion? And this is back in 1993 that he sold it for that. And he said, easy. He says, I always hire people smarter than me.
Yeah.
If I'm the smartest person in the room, I've got a problem. And because again, we're taught you have to do it on your own. So I now surround myself with amazing people that we serve each other. And I want your audience to hear that part too. It's not just about what can you do for me. I come with the servant's heart, and I come with how can we serve each other? How can we help each other grow? Everybody up. It doesn't have to be I win, you lose. Everybody up. And what comes from that is it's always blowing my mind how I've been able to achieve stuff I never would have dreamed. You were talking at the beginning, Mike, about closing your eyes and does it come up blank? And that was me. Or I'd see it in black and white. I could never see a vivid color of what I wanted. But now I dream, and I even realize my dreams aren't even as big as I think I'm going to create, because all of a sudden I connect with someone else that goes, oh, you're dreaming too small. What about this, this, and this? And I'm like, wow, never thought of that.
Yeah, but that is the trick, Robert. I think I'm learning this. Particularly in the last 6 months, the people that I've surrounded myself with, and I've heard myself say, I'm admitting this. It's now live on a podcast that
first step to recovery.
Yeah, I'm being vulnerable here. The people that I'm surrounding with at some points have thought bigger than I have. They had a bigger dream for me than I had of myself. And, when I heard him, say things like, impacting 1 million people or whatever, my initial thing is, it's like somebody hit the gas pedal and my neck flips back like, what?
Yeah.
But the reality is when you start asking for help, and I have been, wow, I spent a lifetime trying to break some kind of Guinness Book of World Record on not asking for help or something. I don't know. And yeah. And so, but what happens is, this, you've experienced it. You don't get what you want when you don't ask. And so the minute my mind went, well, maybe you should ask for help on some of these things and just be vulnerable about where you're at. Holy cow. My universe has just opened up, and it's amazing. And the best part of it is, I'm just connecting with amazing people, like you, Robert. I mean, this is, just great stories, because I think the most important thing, and one of the reasons why I do this, is that I don't want men to think that their story is unique. I mean, it's unique to them, but they're not alone.
Right. The mind's always going, you're the only one that's ever had this happen, or you're the only one that thinks this way. That's the way the mind holds us back. But when you get to, and that's why I loved when I saw the opportunity to be on your show, I'm like, yes, because the moment someone hears something goes, oh my goodness, I'm not the only one who's thought that. Then all of a sudden it opens up more possibilities. And here's how I, when I started training, people thought, okay, today I've been blessed. I've personally trained over 500,000 students all around the world. And anywhere from 100 at a time to 6,000 at a time, where I'm on stage for up to 12 hours a day. And people go, that must have been a big dream you started with. And I'm like, no, here's how it started.
If only they knew.
And that's it. And that's why I want people to understand it, because this is how they take the first step. Is my goal, when my wife and I retired completely financially free, it went, wow, if this much information gave me that, what would more learning do? We became avid students. And all of a sudden I found my passion, and it was, if I could help one person, do what my wife and I had been able to do, go from $150,000 or more in personal debt to financial freedom, then it would be worthwhile. And because I started with who can I help, and that one person, look, everybody, if you're watching the video, it starts with you, the person sitting in your seat, right? Because achieving it is one thing, maintaining it is another thing. Because it's not like all of a sudden, ooh, you're financially free at 32. Wow, the world is amazing.
Yeah.
The world is always amazing, but we'll have our ups and downs. And I'll share in a little bit about the one that even happened because of COVID, a total reinvent I had to do, even though life was going great for me, but I had to be able to do a reinvent. But the fact is the matter, because I was able to have that goal of helping even one person. Today, I've personally trained over 500,000. But the better part of that, Mike, is I don't even know the millions of people I've impacted, because they've now gone home. And the even better part, I don't need to know.
Yeah.
I don't have to know. Just the fact that I've sent my ripple out there, and people say, yeah, the ripple effect. I'm like, no, I want to send out a freaking tsunami effect of change.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I get people ask me all the time. They're like, Mike, how many listeners do you have? How do I think, the honest to God's truth is, probably the first month or so I did this, I couldn't stop going back and looking at you're shaking your head. You're going, I couldn't stop but going back and looking at the numbers. And then I went, Mike, why did you start doing this? And it was really to make an impact. And the reality is, what you and I are talking about is that if you're going to be a success, you got to be a lifelong learner. And, we had this idea to do a podcast. We started it, and, the 50th one's better than the first one. The 100th one will be better than the 50th. Mm-hmm. That's the point.
Yes.
That's the point. And so you got to be in action, and you got to, I'm perfectionist. I'm admitting that. There's a lot of admitting going on here. Good grief.
I just pull it out of you, man.
Thanks for letting me lay on your couch, Robert. I'm a real perfectionist, but anymore, I don't care. I've given that up. I mean, there was a day where I probably would have stopped the podcast when I destroyed your last name and said, well, let's do it again. And now I just laugh about that kind of thing, because it's because I do. I mean, I just got bigger fish to fry, and
you're growing.
Yeah, not that your last name's not important, by the way, but I didn't mean to imply that.
No, but I know exactly where you're at. It's all good.
So it's funny. I'm 52 now, and I just couldn't be more thrilled about the opportunity to get up and learn every day and just be curious.
Yep. Now, 69 or 70? What year were you born?
70.
Oh, you young man. I just turned 2 days ago. I turned 53.
Yeah, but happy birthday. It was January of 1970. So I just, it was close. It was close.
Yeah. So that's another thing you and I obviously have in common, right? Is that, look, our age, we remember long enough to know some of these things that happened a long time ago. I love it. And
For
while you
now.
were speaking, well, I wasn't going to bring that part up, but since we're in the confession mode and on the couch, you made me think of two quotes from two of my mentors, and one is sloppy success is better than perfect mediocrity.
Yeah.
I live by that because being a OCD myself and perfectionist, I would never get started if I was going to wait for it to be perfect. And so, and actually brings up a third quote: one step in the right direction is worth 1,000 years of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So what is one step that you can take? But probably by far my most favorite quote of all is this one: every master was once a disaster. And so think about this. When you're talking about the 50th episode is going to be better than the first, the 100th better than the 50th. If you never even did the first, how are you going to ever get to the 50th? And so you've got to be, most people aren't willing to go through the disaster stage to get to the mastery. Yeah, I guarantee you today, while we're recording here, this is way different than your first episode. And that's why you're able to have more fun. Instead of being here in your head, you're able to be present in the moment and catch some of my bad jokes and throw them back at me. I love that, right?
Yeah.
So, and congratulations for being willing to go through the disaster stage and keep taking steps.
I haven't even given you crap about being Canadian. You sound Canadian. Are you Canadian?
Of course I am.
Yeah.
And damn proud of it.
Yeah. See, I could tell. Now, part of the reason I could tell is I'm from the Midwest, so I know how to hang my O's too. Okay. All right. Just not as good as you.
Love it. Don't tell me we're going there on the jokes for Canada and US. No.
Now, listen, I'm not going to do it because I don't know, these days, I don't think we have much of a leg to stand on. So I'll just leave it at that. The jokes.
Yeah, let's not get into politics.
The jokes feel a little all on us these days.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. You also thought of something right at the beginning when you talk about the dreaming. Les Brown, one of my mentors and became a great friend of mine. When I wrote my book, I said, Les, I need you to write the foreword. He didn't write the foreword for me, Mike. He actually spoke it and sent me the recording. And I was like, and we just transcribed. It's like, Les, I love you. No one can speak like Les can. And one of his sayings that he says that I absolutely believe is not that we set our goals the problem isn't we set our goals too high and miss them. The problem is we set them too low and we hit them. And that keeps you playing that mediocre game. And that's why I want people to really start dreaming bigger than they believe, because it's, like we're having in the conversation, you even said it and I've said it, is there's people that'll come into our lives that will make us aware that we're dreaming smaller, not because we can't dream, but we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And an example of that is, I'm an app designer. Years ago, I designed an app based on my book, and we went through version 1. We're coding version 2 now. And my goal was, help a lot of people and maybe eventually sell it. And I've been going along with that. And then one of the relationships I made in a great friend, all of a sudden he comes along, he goes, a few months ago says, Robert, I've been waiting for you to jump on board with my project. I'm like, what do you mean? He says, we've created an app where you're going to be able to learn about business playing fantasy games, real business, but actually in gameplay. And I want you on the board of advisors. And then I want you on the board of directors. And he said, but I want to be clear, because you're a master and I need you in here to help us with this stuff. But it's not about how are we going to just grow it. This is our legacy. This is our exit strategy to create generational wealth and for legacy. He says, one of our big goals is we want to win the Nobel Peace Prize for changing education. And all of a sudden, he brought into my realm of knowledge numbers I had never even thought of possible for me. I've had success, but the numbers we're talking about, the exit strategy, where we want to be, what kind of dollars we want to sell for, and how we're going to impact the world, it opened me up to a whole new realm.
What's going through your mind when I apologize. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm curious for you what this looks like, because I've had similar conversations. When somebody's tossing around big stuff.
Yes.
Like what? I don't even know how I want to say. What's your instinct like right off the bat? I mean, do you just like go to like, what the heck is he talking about? I mean, or like, is it doable? I'm just kind of curious how that.
Yeah, no, look, for me, I'm always open to listen.
Yeah.
But then I'm always having two questions that are always coming up. Because especially when I'm on stage in front of hundreds and thousands of people, I get every opportunity in the world. Robert, this will be great. You'll make millions. You got to do this, got to do this. And so, I quickly put into question two questions in my mind. If I don't get a yes to both, I don't give it any more time, and I'll respectfully say, sorry, that doesn't work for me. Knowing I have no control whether they're going to understand me saying no or not. None of my business, none of my control. And the first question is this in alignment with my mission? And so my mission is to guide and assist individuals in identifying and living their purpose with passion. If I get a yes that, hey, this is in alignment with what I want to do as a mission, then the second question is, does it move me towards my vision? My vision being my vehicle. How am I going to deliver that mission? How am I going to live that mission? If I get a no to either one, instantly a no, which eliminates 95+% of the opportunities. And I'll sit there and I won't be rude about it. I'll just say, I apologize, but that doesn't work for me in, the direction I want to go. And you'll learn quickly who respects a no and who doesn't, because some people, they're just like, no. And it might get to the stage where I say, obviously you're not listening, and that's why I won't do business with you.
Yeah.
And I'll cut it off. I'll cut it off right there. But if I get a yes to both of those, Mike, then I'll do my due diligence. And so as an example, when this gentleman came to me, we've been doing stuff for a couple of years together already. And I know who he is and his level of thinking. So for me, it was instantly, tell me more, because I know he's in alignment with me. And we use it as saying TLC. This is what drives this whole thing. We've got to have absolute trust for each other, absolute loyalty for each other, and communication. Because if you don't have the proper communication, it's easily, so if something you're not sure or it's bothering you, you say it. And as men, how often do we not? Because we don't think the other person can handle the truth, right?
Well, it's, I've often joke, and we've gone over this on the show, it's actually biblical in nature. If you look at the first Adam in the Garden of Eve, it's been handed down to us over time, right? When God's asking Adam and Eve, where are you? We're hiding, dude. Right. and where do we land? I mean, the average guy, that's what we do. Like, that didn't work out. I'm going to go hide out in the basement for a while.
Yep. And it takes courage. It takes courage to speak your truth. It absolutely does. I never want people to think that this is easy stuff. This has taken me 53 years of working on me, and I've only really started working the last 20 years on it.
Well, that's the big thing. You're the old guy here today, which is cool. I like that.
Thanks, man. I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but, and I feel this, I don't necessarily, ever walk around going, well, I'm at sage stage already. Cause I don't think I am, but I'm sage enough to know what I don't know. And I'm prepared to ask questions about it. 10 years ago, I wasn't doing that, maybe even 8 years ago.
Yep.
And so I think, hopefully somebody listening today can take away is, be vulnerable, ask questions, be curious, and you got an opportunity to live your dreams. Is as a result, and I'm going to add something else on, as long as you're surrounding yourself with the right people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hit a hot button there. I feel like,
because even a year and a half ago, I went through a paradigm shift that one of my mentors, because I'm a huge believer in having mentors in your life.
Yeah.
Because again, every time I try to do it on my own, I get stuck.
Yeah.
By having mentors, it keeps me moving forward. And for years, up until a year and a half ago, I'm on stage in front of hundreds, thousands of people, and I'm like, don't you feel amazing that you're in a room full of like-minded people? This is going to help you be successful. And everybody's like, yeah. And so I was expressing that to my mentor, and he looked at me, he says, Robert, let me just ask you a question. He says, if you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and the people around you are all complainers, who do you think you're going to be? And I was like, ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
Because my mind started automatically going to, who do I spend the most time with, and are they complainers or not? And I went, wow, no wonder sometimes I can get complaining, feeling I have to complain about everything. And then I'm like, okay, I know you have an answer. Don't hold it back. What's the answer? He said, look, it's simple. He says, surround yourself with growth minded people. He said, and here's the difference. He says, a growth minded person, yes, if you stumble, they're going to be there to pick you up. If you are doing well, they're going to be the ones that are there to cheer you on. He said, but the most important role a growth minded person is going to have in your life, they're the ones that are willing. And again, I want your audience to listen to the words I'm saying. They're willing to have those tough conversations with you when needed. And it could be something like, why are you being a jerk right now? Or my wife, she probably the greatest blessing she's ever brought to my life, Mike, is she's not willing to let me play smaller than I am. If it was left up to me, I'd be comfortable in a job, but miserable as hell because I was taught this is what you do. But she's not willing to let me play that smaller game. I would not be talking to you today if it wasn't for her. And of course, it always comes easy, like, honey, you need to play a bigger game. And I'm like, yes, dear, let's do it. No, it often comes with the swift kick in the rear because I can be stubborn. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, I realize, wow, you're right. I tell people, because in a week, I celebrate my 33rd wedding anniversary.
Ooh,
and people
congrats.
go, how is it you've been married that long? I said, two most important words in a relationship. Yes, dear. Plain and simple. Because when I finally get it, and so it's a gift I give her now too. So who do you have in your life where you can have those conversations where they're not going to pull the punches? It's not like they're going to be arrogant about it, ignorant about it, but they're willing to say, hey, stop. Why are you bitching right now when there's obviously solutions you can take? And if you can't figure it out on your own, ask someone. Quit being a jerk.
Yeah.
And you set the context around that and watch what that can do for your life.
Well, and listen, not only that, but turn off the news. Turn on, I mean, social media. I mean, listen, if you allow it to happen, I mean, just between the news and social media, you could turn into a horrible person. Mm-hmm. I mean, you just could, right? I mean, the news is so horribly rotten. It's designed to be that way. In case somebody's listening and not paying attention, designed to be that way intentionally because it's like crack. They're trying to pull you in because, oh, and by the way, they have to sell advertising. And that's what it's what this is all about. Just this shock and awe of trying to get you sucked into the news. And this is on both sides of the aisle. So I'm not making a political statement. Exactly. They all suck. So, but that, and I've seen myself get roped into it, and I've seen a lot of people get roped into, the sensationalism of the news and the social media. And that will hugely affect your attitude. And so I'm just tacking that on to, the people, because I agree with you 100%. But listen, I think in this day and age we're living in, that it's important to combine all those, because they're all, man, that's just evil stuff.
Well, yeah, and let's go into the science of it, because science has now proven, and get this, for every 1 minute of negative energy or news as an example, let's use news since we've been talking about it, that you get negative, non-supportive energy from the news, to just neutralize that 1 minute, not even get ahead of it, but to neutralize it, it takes 5 times or 5 minutes of positive reinforcement to neutralize the 1 minute of negative. So take a look at your life and where are you spending a lot of your time? And no wonder you may be feeling overwhelmed, drained, can't figure out why you just can't get out of bed in the morning. Yeah. It's because, and I use the example of 9/11. My wife and I were in a training where there was no cell phones like they are today. We had no idea what was going on. And we found out like the night it had happened, late that night. And we finished off the training. We were students. And when we traveled home, because now it's like checking in with our parents and that, my mother-in-law, from the moment it hit the news, to the time we got home, it had been 3 days. And she had maybe slept for 2 hours in that whole time, so glued to the TV. And she's very empathetic. So she was taking on all that energy. Yep. We literally had to go in and unplug the TV because her husband didn't do it. He was glued there beside her. And because she was now in terrible condition, and it's unplugging the TV and saying, you need to get some sleep. Let's go for a walk once you've had a rest. Let's get out of here. Yeah, but you didn't see what happened. It's like, no, it happened. There's not much you can do sitting in the living room.
Yeah.
But what you can do is you can be healthy to help out when it's time to help out.
That really is a good example. There are countless, because I remember that morning like it was yesterday. That there's no doubt about it, that watching stuff like that over and over and over again can cause trauma, PTSD. I mean, it's and I'm not suggesting to anybody that people not be engaged in the world or know what's going on, but there is a price to be paid for watching that over and over and over again.
Yep.
And for several hours at a time.
Yep.
We're not, quite frankly, our brains are not built for it.
Nope. And it's your choice of where you see, and this is when people go, well, I had no choice. The one thing you always have, you don't have control. That's probably the biggest cosmic joke out there, thinking you have control of anything, right? What's that joke? Make a plan and then watch God laugh at you about it, thinking you have it all figured out.
Yeah.
The one thing you do have control of is how you react or respond to what's going on in your life. See, that's where you truly can. Yeah, I love the saying, and Mike, I don't know if you've heard it, the saying that says everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Have you heard that? Oh. And do you believe that saying?
To some degree. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer too in it, but here's what people don't realize it. That's not the actual whole saying. That's only half the saying. The whole saying is everything happens for a reason, and that reason is there to serve you. Which means when you understand the second part, you can now go into a curiosity mode and say, so if this is here to serve me, how can I respond or react in a way that serves me? What's the lesson? And you may not get the lesson right away.
Yeah.
It may take a while for the lesson to come, but have you ever had anything happen where something happens in your life and it usually is something that's traumatic or not good, but then all of a sudden years later, you're like, that's why that happened to me.
Oh,
and you go back and you realize, had that not happened, I wouldn't be here. Had that not happened, I wouldn't be here. Had Ron Humpting not laid me off, I would not have found Domino's, become a manager, become a franchisee, gone in debt, found my passion, and now impacted people, or millions of people total around the world. So today I look back and I go, thank you, Ron Humpting, for laying me off.
Yeah.
And it's all about how you look at it.
Yeah. Listen, but I think the real question about this cat is, does he know how to Humpty dance?
Right? I don't know. We want to ask him that the one time. His nickname was the Humpster. So,
okay.
And that was around the time the Humpty Dance was out there.
Well, yeah, I wonder how many people are going to get that joke. But anyway, I couldn't help myself.
That's why I'm having such a blast on this call with you.
It's showing my age when I start picking on songs like that. But
yep.
No, but I just I enjoy talking with people like you that have these life experiences, and this is really for my own edification. What does it feel like to be on stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people speaking?
Because it's my passion, it's amazing. Because if it was for my ego, it would be daunting.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And here's what I mean by that, because I'll get people come up to me all the time, Mike, and they'll go, how do I do what you do? And my response to them kind of shocks them sometimes. I say, if you want to do what I do, you've got to be willing to do what I do. Meaning the work behind the scenes, the monotonous, boring as crap. Well, Robert, you get to travel around the world. Yep. That must be amazing. It is, but it also means I'm on planes for 14 hours at a time. I'm in hotel rooms and I'm waiting to go on stage, and I'm having to take time and give myself permission to rest because I'm going through jet lag, and if I'm going to be on stage properly. So you've got to take the good with the bad. You've got to take everything together. So if you want to do what I do, be willing to do what I do to master your craft. And that's for any area of life.
Yeah.
So when I'm on stage, I always told myself, and it kind of happened in 2008, is if I ever find I'm doing this for the money, then I'm doing it for the wrong reason. I have to step back. And in 2008, I was burnt out because I'd been going for 4.5 years at that point as a trainer. And I'd been traveling all over North America and just started into Asia at that time. And I was at home on average 2 days a month. That's it. And I was burnt out. And all of a sudden I realized I had an argument with someone because I didn't feel I was being paid my worth. And all of a sudden I went home and I went, wow, there's that money thing. I'm doing it for the wrong reason. I need to step back. And I chose to take a year off, but I didn't realize not only was I burnt out, I hadn't been taking care of my body, and I ended up herniating a disc and going through 2 back surgeries because I wasn't standing properly on stage all those hours, 3 to 5 days at a time, 12 hours a day on stage teaching. I was giving a lot of energy. And so that 1 year turned into 3.5 years of me having to take time off, including going through 2 back surgeries.
Yeah.
Where before the first one, I was laid up in bed for 6 weeks where I couldn't even get out of bed because I was in so much pain. And Mike, not to get graphic, but nothing will humble you more when, like someone having to wipe your butt because you can't.
Well, and listen, I don't know if you've watched this. I would encourage people to watch it. I found it was interesting, albeit some of it was a little surprising to me. Tony Robbins has a documentary out, and within that documentary, there's a lot of behind the scenes footage of him preparing to speak. And oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the things you don't think about, and of course, this guy's got quite a disposable income. So, I mean, he's in the cryo chamber and, taking cold baths and just the
voice work.
Oh my gosh. The degree of preparation. Well, I mean, I was a little shocked about that part. Quite honestly.
But everybody wants the 15 minutes of fame and they want to be that, but they don't realize, like watching the news, it comes with a cost. Another great documentary to watch for that, and a whole new respect, is Katy Perry's Part of Me.
Ooh.
Because you see the 200-day tour she's on, where just to try and keep a marriage going, when she has 3-4 days off, she's on a private jet, flying a day home to just be there for a day to fly a day back. When she's getting near the end, she's like so collapsed on a table and can't even muster the energy to go back on stage. And their team are like, it's okay, but her fans mean so much to her that she musters up the energy to get back on and do, because it's every one of us, Mike, has a gift to give this world.
Yeah.
And if you're not living your gift, that gift can be taken away right away. And so when I look at these celebrities, the ones that can handle it versus the ones that don't, and the reason I came out of retirement is because I had said I was going to take a year off, and I quit. I went from overliving my passion, overliving it, which is bad. I got burnt out, didn't take care of myself, to not living it at all, which was just as bad. And it took a dog attack lunging at my throat and coming an inch away from my jugular for me to realize I hadn't been living my gift, and it could be gone like that. Yeah. And in that moment, I chose, remember I said how you react to a situation? Yeah. I chose that I had to give my gift again. I didn't have to do it financially. I'd been retired financially free for years, but I had to because it was my gift. And it's like, God, I don't need another signal. I got your lesson. Start speaking and teaching again. You don't have to give it to me a third time, because how hard, you don't get the lessons that are coming your way. They don't go away. They come back more intense and more intense. And it's like, no more dog attacks needed. I will teach and give people until the day I can't, because that is my gift.
Yeah. Well, if you ever come around here, I just have a 10-pound Shih Tzu, so we'll be gentle. No dog attacks here. That's my man dog.
All right. Woo. Yeah, we got our 2 puppies now. So they're 5 and 6 months old. One's a little Chihuahua and a Yorkie, Beaver Yorkie mix, and the other one's a Golden Retriever. So the little sister, she's 35 pounds. The big brother, he's 3 pounds.
There you go. Well, Robert, this has really been a lot of fun. We'll put all your information in the show notes, but tell everybody how they can find you and get a hold of you and learn from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, one of the things I believe is that our time is one of our most precious commodities. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you took your valuable time to interview me, thank you so much. And the fact that your listeners are taking their valuable time to listen to this aerodynamic dude just rattle off and have fun, I appreciate that as well. And so as a gift from you and I to them, in 2017, I launched my book, Success Left a Clue, which is an international bestseller. If they just go to robertriopel.com, just my name, RobertRiopel.com, they're actually going to be able to download the entire digital copy as our gift to them for just listening to the show. But I will say it comes with a caveat. I did not write this book for people to get it, put it on the shelf, and make it shelf help. That does not help anybody. I wrote it, and I go through 6 steps to achieve the life you really want. Step number 3 is you have to take action. The biggest difference between success and non, from me traveling around the world, is successful people take action. Knowing we're creatures of habit, I wrote it as a workbook with action steps all the way through, so that you actually have to do the work as you're going through the book, not just trying to blow through it. And being the quirky person I am, because I am a goofball, I even write in there things that say, hey, did you do the last action? If not, stop reading right now, go back, do the action before you read any more.
Yeah. Do not collect $200.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But all kidding aside, Mike, here's what I'm going to tell your audience. If they take time to download the book, read it, and do the action steps, I promise them their life will go to another level. And that'll allow them to stay connected with me. And then as an extra little bonus, I'm in the give back phase of my life right now. I'm loving helping people. I'm not flying 200,000 miles a year around the world, so I'm at home. I've built my own home studio and that. So when they download the book, they're also going to be able to book in a complimentary 20-minute strategy session with me, personally with me. It's not someone else, and I don't do any selling on it. They fill out a questionnaire before we get on a call, and in 20 minutes, I help them overcome obstacles that are holding them back, help them brainstorm things that can take them to another level, because that's what I love to do. And it takes courage to have that call with me. I will tell you that, because you've got to be ready that I'm going to open your mind to some great things that are possible for you. So robertriopel.com, that's the way to do it.
Awesome. I love it. Take advantage of that. I think that would be a great opportunity for any listener to engage with Robert. Robert, thanks for being on the True Man podcast. We appreciated you being here today.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Take care.